Walking to Ravenscourt Park to paint for the afternoon. The park's about a 5 to 7 minute walk from the flat that I'm staying in, up the high street and next to a tube station. But first I'm gonna stop and get some coffee. This is one of the cozier spots that we found in Hammersmith. It's a cafe underneath a tube bridge inside of a garden center. So it's very, and there's plenty of seating, good coffee, good food. So one of the more, tucked away neighborhood gems. So this is Ravenscourt Park. I'm gonna try to find a place to paint, and there's a pond toward the back of the park. I think I'm gonna try to find a spot over there. I thought I would share my painting setup currently. So this is the Raymar wet canvas holder. Very nice for traveling. It keeps the wet canvases from touching each other or getting all over my clothes or other people as I walk around. This is the Strata tripod, which is very well made. Lots of different settings on here for different heights, and very easy to use. It's the whole Strata easel setup, which I'll show you, is pretty nice for travel. It's a little bit heavy just because it's made of metal, but it's very solid and unlikely to tip over unless there's a really strong wind and you're using a big canvas. Anyway, so that's the tripod. Very important roll of paper towel. I've made the mistake of not bringing enough in the past. Very important to have that. This is my brush carrier. Not much to say about that. And then this is the Strata easel itself. There's 3 different sizes. I think I have the mid. Very well made. Made by Brian Mark Taylor. And yeah, highly recommend it. It's worked out really well for travel, just very solid. Like I said, it is a little bit heavy, but also surprisingly light for the fact that it's completely made out of solid metal. And very important, turpentine container, medium container. Very important to have this well sealed. These you can find at any art store. Paint. Yeah, so I just have some oil paints and a few other accessories stuck into this bag. Okay, just to show how the easel works. So it's just attached to the tripod, just like you would attach any other camera to a tripod. Extended the legs a bit. I'm going to adjust the height once I kind of figure out the scene. And then the easel just pops open like this. And then it comes with these trays, or at least the set that I got comes with these trays. And then these just, sorry about the camera angle here, one-handed, just hook onto the side. So I usually use this for mixing, and then this for more mixing or kind of palette space. And then it comes with this extra side tray. Usually I like rust brushes on here. And yeah, then this is adjustable, so it goes pretty high. And of course you can do whatever width you want across it. And then yeah, the tripod is great. It has a ton of different settings for angles and setup. So you can really do whatever you want. You can even put this down. Sorry, I can't really see. Kind of angle this down more. And then angle this up. So it's really very flexible and lots of workspace in a very small package that fits into my tiny backpack. So cool. Okay, I'm pretty much set up to paint. Really raise the easel up as high as I could to get it in line with my line of sight of the subject. I find that it really helps to have a lot of room and just minimize the looking back and forth, up and down, diagonally. Just makes it more efficient to paint. I'm going to try to stick with a pretty saturated palette, so I'm mostly going to use primary colors, blue, yellow, red, and maybe a couple neutrals. So a lot of shades of green in front of me right now, so probably a lot of yellow and blue involved today. White, and I probably won't use black. I'll try to get the darks with the primary colors. So this is really the primary palette I think I'm going to use. Maybe some yellow ochre, maybe some burnt sienna, but I'll try to mix everything from these primary colors. Okay, I'm just starting to kind of study the subject itself, and the first thing I'm thinking about is this. Well, there's a lot of detail in front of me, and I don't want to focus on detail at all right now. I want to kind of squint at the scene and try to identify big shapes, big blocks of color, and I think my first goal is to be just kind of sketch in the drawing, sketch in the foreground, middle ground, background, just using, I don't know, some line, and then try to block in some of the major shapes, and squinting the whole time just to simplify what I see and not get distracted by fine details, at least at this stage. I actually started with mixing a bunch of paint. I just mixed quite a few colors, but it's relatively limited compared to the number of colors I see ahead in front of me. So a range of greens from dark to light, saturated to desaturated. So like this is, oops, I just touched it with gray. This is very saturated and pretty bright. This is very dark. This is more like a neutral mid-tone, still pretty dark. And this is kind of like a light neutral. So a big range of greens, because there's a lot of green. I changed my mind and I actually did use black, because black is dark blue. So I wanted to get a dark green, and the quickest way to do that was just to mix yellow into black, and that gave me this dark green, which I see quite a lot of in front of me. Then I mixed a few neutrals, like a gray, a brown, and kind of a bluish for the sky tone, that might get mixed into some colors. So yeah, I took my time with this. Probably did more than I need, but it's something I'm trying to practice, and now I'm going to get into the drawing. So I've sketched in the general layout of the scene, just using some thinned out raw umber, and yeah, it doesn't look like much right now, but it went very fast, and I just wanted to get a sense of the composition, figure out what's going to be in the scene and what's not. And I want the focal point to be this nice tree over here, kind of this area, and I'm just checking the composition. That'll be about here. I think that's nicely in the center, but not in the direct center, and I think I can kind of make just make sure that the composition kind of angles toward that. And I think this is looking pretty good. Maybe I could have zoomed in a bit more on that, but I'm gonna work with this and see what happens. My goal here, after I did the drawing, was to, as quickly as possible, knock out as much of the white of the canvas as I could. I want to just, as quickly as possible, establish the overall relationships of every kind of area of the composition, and that way I know that as I continue to paint, I'm making decisions that are relative to the whole picture rather than just one section. And it was not a goal to be accurate at all. It was just a goal to identify the biggest shapes, and just to get them roughly in relationship to each other. So the color isn't completely accurate, the shapes aren't completely accurate, but they're generally placed in the correct relationships, and now they can be adjusted and refined for the rest of the painting process. You know, this is kind of a pausing point, so it's always good to just take a huge step back, big step back, and look at the canvas from far away, because you might have been standing up close to it for a long time, 12 inches from it, 18 inches from it, and get a few feet back or more, and see what it looks like from kind of across the room, and see if it's starting to capture an impression, because most of the time you won't see it from super close, and we can emphasize things that we don't need to emphasize if we're looking at it that closely. So yeah, it's starting to, I can see the focus that I want, which is that blossoming tree there. I think the shapes are relatively accurate across the composition. I can see even the foreground, midground, and background. So yeah, turning out to be a pretty nice composition. So yeah, next step is to start to develop probably what I want to be the focal area. So that blossoming tree, that one. I'm starting to develop the focal area so that I have a reference that I will then work outward from to develop the rest of the picture. This is what my palette looks like after that first stage. You can see I still have all of my colors here. They're pretty pure from when I mixed them. I used quite a bit of this dark green. I might want to pause and mix some more at this point. And then here is where I was mixing a lot of turpentine with these paints just to thin them out and make it faster to cover the canvas. And they're relatively organized according to where those colors are on the canvas, which is kind of a nice way to organize your palette. So this is the first moment of a little excitement. I've developed what I hope will be the focal point a bit. It's still very loose, and it's still very much toward the neutral of the color range, but it's starting to feel like a reference that I can use for the rest of the picture, and it's starting to actually feel like what I'm looking at a little bit. So I have I can already see some shapes here to adjust, but I'm still very much simplifying the shapes that I see. I'm squinting almost all the time at the subject. I'll give you a better view here, but yeah, you can see it's starting to take shape and starting to become useful to figure out the rest of the puzzle. So, onward. So I haven't done anything more yet. I'm actually trying to figure out what my next step is going to be. I'm kind of thinking through it. What I might do is start to work out from the reference that the focal point that I've developed the furthest, and start to just work outward from there. Kind of shape by shape and color by color, until I've developed the whole canvas up to that level or close to it, which isn't very well developed, but so still staying pretty loose, but developing the shapes a bit more clearly, and try to get the whole kind of composition more stated. That'll help, especially if I have to stop and not finish today and come back. That'll help next time. I can come back with a really solid foundation to build on. So I think that's the plan. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right, so I think I've developed the entire canvas up to about the level that the reference was before, and just to dispel the myth of video editing, this took quite a while. It took about 50 minutes to an hour. I was moving pretty quickly from area to area, but yeah, it took some time. And basically I worked, like the plan, I worked outward from here, and I kind of worked shape by shape, out this way, down into this way, up into here, and then into this area and into this area. So as things get further from the reference, they get less and less well developed. You can see this is the least developed area, corner, it's kind of opposite. And sometimes that helps to even keep the focal point, more of a focal point, is to not develop all of the areas of the canvas. Especially plein air, like this area isn't super visible to me when I'm looking at the reference, so it's more accurate to keep it kind of rough and sketchy. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this so far. I think the composition is pretty nice. People keep using it as a backdrop for photos with their families, so I think that shows that it's a nice background as well. And yeah, I think there's still a clear foreground, middle ground, background. I think the colors are more accurate than they were before. There's definitely some color adjustment to do, which I can do as I keep going. But yeah, basically the process now is exactly what I just did. Start from the focal point, developing it to another level of clarity and polish, and then again work outward from there and develop the whole canvas together. And I'll do that 1 or 2 or 3 more times, depending on how much work I want to put into this painting, or whenever it starts to feel kind of at rest and nothing really like major bothers me, that means it's done. So I don't know, it's getting toward late afternoon here. I'm not sure if I will do another pass, keep going, or come back another day. Yeah, haven't decided yet. So I'm gonna take a breather, take a break, enjoy the park a little bit, and then see what I think. So I decided to do a little bit more on the main focal point of the painting, but I think I should stop for the day because I'm starting to get a little tired, hungry, very high risk of starting to rush and be impatient, and which would not be the best for the painting. I need to take my time with it and not try to rush it. So one of my favorite things that my painting teacher once said was that wanting to be done with something isn't a good reason to do it. So if I'm just painting because I want to be done with it, I should stop and come back tomorrow or the next day and do some more. So yeah, I think I'm gonna pause here. Getting hungry, getting tired, and I'm really happy with where it's at right now, and I better to come back when I'm excited about the painting rather than wearing myself out. So yeah, hopefully there will be a part 2 of this. Yeah, gonna walk home.